What's up, FloaterGang? Welcome to another episode, the All-Star Special, or as far as who should be the starters, East and West, who are the reserves, the wild cards, what NBA talents deserve to be on these teams and on these selected teams. First off, we got the talented West guards. Honestly, crazy. You have, I think, three of the top five per game scorers are West guards. So one of them will not be a starter. But Valentine, which two guards from the West are the two most deserving to be starters?
So I'll just say who both of them are, then I'll talk about them. So point guard Luka Doncic, and then shooting guard I have Steph Curry
Why Steph?
because
Everyone agrees with Luca.
he had
Hopefully.
the 3-point or most 3-pointers made in the All-Star game, and he continues to show out, and that's what draws a lot of the attention.
Well,
So
so
you're
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna ask, so you want him to be an all-star because of what he's done beforehand in all-star games?
Yeah, and
But
he's had a good season this season.
well, so I think Steph will get voted in just because it's Steph. Everyone, like the casual fans are going to vote for Steph. The Warriors fans, a lot of NBA fans are going to vote for Steph. Personally, I think it should be Shai. I mean, he's an MVP candidate, 30 point per game score, leads the league in steals, great all around player. His team's the second seed in the West. And he's beat Steph 3 times this year. I mean, not that head to heads matter, but I think it's got to be Shai in that two spot. I absolutely agree with Luka though. Everyone does.
Yeah, I don't think there's a debate about that one.
Yeah, Shea gets more points per game. His team is, and this is a big thing, is really the team. If the Warriors are the number 5 seed right now, I have no issue with this. But the fact that they're not in the play-in right now, and the OKC Thunder are number 3, and Shea is the number, he's getting more points per game. He is also right now, statistically, the best defensive guard. And he's just playing efficient. He's amazing right now. I don't think there's any way that Steph Curry at this moment deserves. If Steph Curry, I mean, we still have time left. If Steph Curry in the next, what is it, 10 or so games, 15 games, I guess voting will stop quite a bit before the All-Star event itself.
Yeah.
If he can lead them on a really hot run, and there are also trade talks, I think you can make an argument that he is starting, right? There's still time left, quite a bit of games left until voting ends, until the game happens. But just based off right now, Shea SGA is just much more deserving than Steph Curry, based off team record and based off personal time. But Steph Curry's insane right now too.
I mean, honestly, well, I'll save it for later, but I don't know if Steph even gets one of my guard spots. We'll see though.
Wow, I am shocked. All right. I think with that, I mean, we're not going to go to the backups yet, but we can move to the West forwards. For me, my West forwards are the first one, LeBron James. In this season, I think he is still starting. I think he'll make it without doubt just because he's LeBron. Again, to Deacon's point of voters, but I think he's deserving of it. So he's a top three. He's one of the top three forwards in scoring. So just as a scorer, he deserves it. He's also top three in assists. Well, like tied for second. Um, and he's actually averaging more points per game than he did in those last two chips. The one the Lakers, the one the Cavs having more points per game, which is insane at this age. But regardless of age, he's deserving. He's also averaging more assists right now than he did in all of his Heat days. Just some fun facts for y'all of how crazy LeBron is right now. Not to mention, I think last time I checked, he's shooting above 40% three-pointer. So I think they're without question. I know a lot of LeBron haters and a lot of LeBron lovers. I think LeBron deserves to be a starter. And yeah. Then you have, I mean, I cut to the chase. Nikola Jokic is without doubt. There's no question. Enough said. And then Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant has been sneakily has had the second most points per game in his career. And the only other one being the MVP, his MVP, or second most since his MVP, so in the last decade. So at this age, he's also averaging the same assists as he did in the MVP season a decade ago. And I think right now he's below it. Last time I checked, he was a 51% field goal shooter and 47-3. But before that, he was like a 50-50 shooter. I mean, Kevin Durant right now, the Suns are underperforming. We'll get to it in a little bit, may have two All-Stars or not, despite having a bad record. But Kevin Durant is very deserving of being an All-Star starter. And I think the only one, right? I think the next up in line would be Sabonis. We'll get there in a second. I think Sabonis is next up, but I think Kevin Durant is more deserving than Domantas Sabonis, if anyone wants to argue about that.
No arguments for me.
I mean, I don't know if he should necessarily be a starter, AD, but I think AD could potentially get a starting spot too. He's been really good on both sides of the floor this year.
Well, similarly to what Lauren was saying, I mean, the Suns, for everyone saying they have a bad record, they have a better record than the Lakers. And I don't know if the
True.
Lakers deserve 2 starters. AD's been unbelievable, and it's definitely not either LeBron or AD's fault. But just like based off like the politics of the thing, I don't know if they have 2 starters. At least in
Yeah, it's
in-
interesting. I think both the Suns and the Lakers are obviously Devin Booker's not playing nearly as good as all of the other point guards, so he won't be a starter. I really think there's no shot. He doesn't deserve it, but he's playing insane. So it's really crazy to have the Suns and the Lakers have these 2 guys that are starter talents, but both teams have really poor records for where they should be.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting case. I mean, I think enough said. I'm surprised that you guys are agreeing with all these 3. I definitely thought there would be maybe some you might have some different people, but it works for me. I think we can move on then. Those are our starters. I think our starters for the West overall are Luka, SGA, LeBron, Jokic, and Durant, and Valentine thinks Steph has a case there too for a starter. So, but we'll see what happens, of course. So let's move over to the East. Deacon, who are the East starting guards?
All right. Well, so I think the most popular pick, maybe not Valentine. He's a little lower on him than, well, at least Marvin.
Oh well.
Well, I think Tyrese Halliburton, he deserves to be there. He's almost averaging 13 assists, 25 points a game. Crazy efficient. We know how it is. I mean, Pacers aren't, the greatest team in the world, but I think they are just about as good as we thought they would be. I mean, and Tyrese is the driving force of that. So I think he absolutely deserves a starting spot. And my second guy, I think is maybe not the most popular pick, but I'm going Jalen Brunson. He's been so good for New York. I mean, I don't know what their record or their standing is right now, but it would be a lot lower without him. I think he is a 1A type guy. And like none of the other guys were particularly impressive to me. So, and I think Brunson, he's had his big moments, 50-point game. I had to put him in there in my second spot.
Wow, you threw me for a loop. I definitely thought you were gonna say Trae Young.
I did too, but I agree. I think Brunson, especially looking at record too, deserves it more than Trae. The Hawks are 13 and 19, and then Knicks are number 8 with 17 and 15. I think Brunson is one of the driving forces to that record for them. And I mean, we saw what he did with them last year too. So I see where it's coming from, especially over Trae Young. And I don't know if I mean, maybe Maxey could get it over him. But I don't think Maxey has as big of an impact, especially considering he has Embiid on his team too. So I can't disagree with that pick.
I think we're forgetting about Damian Lillard.
Yeah, he was the guy that I was also considering. But at the end of the day, I was just like, Brunson's the best player on his team. I think he deserves the spot.
Guys, I'm surprised. I'm really, really surprised. Neither Valentine or Deacon, you have said Donovan Mitchell. That's in my book. He's scoring more points than Brunson. He averaged almost the exact amount of assists, and Jalen Brunson's been really efficient, but Donovan Mitchell has been very solidly efficient, and his defense has been insane. I mean, he's averaging almost 2 steals a game. He's been a great defender, undersized guard. I mean, Brunson's been great. I can't put him there as a starter right now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I totally get that. And I do think Mitchell is undervalued a bit. I think a lot of the narrative around him is different. Like, oh, is he going to leave Cleveland? Oh, he doesn't want to be there. I don't think people are paying attention to how good he is, especially with Garland out. He's been passing pretty well. But at the end of the day, I like Brunson more, so I just put him there.
Yeah,
I mean, and right now, this is easily it's a 1 game difference or so. It's a 1 game difference, literally. Right now, the Cavs are better than the Knicks, but pretty much in the same boat, right? This could easily change in the next 10, 15 games. But I mean, I think Donovan Mitchell, mean, he has that just that reputation. I mean, I don't think we should base it off that, but he has that superstar rep. He is known as a superstar. He's a bona fide superstar. He's averaging, right, what, 28 points per game, 27, something like that. I just had it over here, lost it. Averaging 28 points per game, and like 2 steals almost. And like if Brunson, in my opinion, was like a much more elite playmaker over Donovan Mitchell, I think it's much more of an argument. But Brunson, I mean, Mitchell is the more elite scorer, and he's the more elite defender. And for a Cavs team that right now has a better record, I wouldn't be surprised if their record is better throughout the next 10 or 15 games. I would not be surprised. I think Donovan Mitchell is. I think he's the guy. But I like Brunson. He's definitely deserving. I don't know if I like where I have him. We'll get to there in a little bit. But I mean, just for the record, let's give some Brunson some love. 44.5 plus 3-point percentage.
Okay. You were going really slow there. I wasn't sure what number you were talking about.
Yeah.
I built
That
up
is
the tension, bro, but that's insane.
Mhm.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And for that number, it's actually crazy how low his field goal percentage is. It's not low at all. It's not bad. But for having such a good 3-pointer, you would expect that field goal to also be boosted dramatically by that. It's a 47. It's fine. But I mean, the 3-point shooting is crazy.
I would have never expected him to be as good as he is. I mean, I was one of the people who were like, I don't know if the Knicks overpaid. I'm not going to say they are, but it is a big contract. Now it's looking like one of the most underpaid players in the league. It's insane.
That's true. And I still feel like he does get underrated too. I mean, especially that we have him debating for second to third best guard in the East right now. And I don't think when people think of his name, they're like, oh yeah, he's like one of the best guards in the East. And that's myself included. I mean, I like know he's there, but I'm like, he's not that good, is he? But then he kind of is.
Yeah.
It's kind of just a weird narrative, at least for me, around him in that.
To that good part,
Yeah.
to what you just said, he's a man of 6'2". He's a rather undersized guard for the NBA. And again, to that 3-point percentage, he's doing that, creating his own shot. He's not getting open catch and shoots. He's as a 6'2" guard, creating his own shot, and shooting that at a 44.5% clip is insane. So just based off that stat alone is why I had him. For me, he is definitely like a wild card to be a starter. To me, it's just if he was shooting a 37% 3-point, which is great. For me, it's like, okay, no, I don't think I can take him over all these other guys, but that's impressive.
It's true.
But
I'll do the forwards now. To me, I feel like it's pretty straightforward who the 3 starters are. So I'm just gonna name them all and then see what happens. But Giannis, Joel Embiid, and Bam Adebayo.
Ooh.
Bam has been amazing. He has missed some games, which doesn't help him. But I think they're pretty straightforward. The starting forwards. I could see Tatum being in there.
You
But-
could
You could
see
see him being in there.
Yeah.
He is
He
in
is
there.
absolutely in there.
Marvin,
Bam
why
Adebayo is not gonna be
is
a
Bam
starter.
Adebayo a starter over Jason Tatum?
I think he brings more to a team all around, and I think he has a bigger impact on the team, especially considering Jimmy doesn't play super hard in the regular season. They still rack up wins. His team overall isn't as known to be as great. Celtics are supposed to be good. They have 4 really good guys. But that's true.
They're quite for all-star.
Nah, okay. But I just feel like Adebayo brings more to the team, and I feel like he's a more valuable piece than Jason Tatum is as an overall player.
I mean, I totally disagree.
Yeah.
I see where you're coming from. Bam's a great defender. He's a good secondary playmaker. He could manage an offense. He could knock down shots when you need him to. I think Tatum, he's an explosive scorer, great defender, can attack the basket, finishes excellently there. He's improving as a playmaker. He's the best player on the best team. I think he absolutely deserves a starting spot.
And he's in the MVP candidates for a reason.
Yeah.
Bam isn't for a reason.
I mean, can we confidently say Bam is the best player on his team? Whether he's playing like it or not, I still think it's I don't know if he's like that much better than Jimmy Butler.
Or
And
Tyler
obviously,
Hero.
well, he's better than Tyler Hero.
This
Um,
season.
I mean, Tyler has been good, but I'll still compliment Big Bam. But yeah. But yeah, I think Tatum has to be on.
Yeah.
When you said straightforward, I thought you were going to say.
I mean, I think based off fans, Tatum probably will get it too. I mean, he has probably bigger fan base. He has just more of a good rep on his name. But I personally like Adebayo more, so I put Adebayo as my forward.
I mean, I like your argument. I do, and I think you make a lot of good points. There's something I read the other day. What was it? It was like there's a lot of people that are top, like you can be a top talent, but not be a top impact on your team, and you can also be not one of the top talented guys, but one of the most impactful guys on your team. And it was in regards to Derek White, who's actually on Jason Tatum's team, right? Talent-wise, Derek White does not crack the top 30 talents in the league. He doesn't. Without doubt, he does not crack top 30 talent in the league, but Derek White is arguably one of the top 30 most impactful players, which is completely unrelated to what I'm talking about right now. But as far
Hey,
as
you gotta make an
impact,
all-star case for him.
no, I'm not. But as far as impact, I mean, you can make an argument, and I don't think it's a bad argument, that Bam Adebayo is more impactful for his team than Jason Tatum because of what he brings in different ways on the floor. Even this season, and guys, I think Jason Tatum sometimes makes himself a very one-dimensional scorer. I think he settles for a lot of tough shots because he's elite at making tough shots, but they're not always the best for the team. He's under a 35% three-point shooter this season, and actually has been for most of his career, which not a lot of people know or talk about. But I think he also deserves it. I hate like the narrative of like you just have to, like just because. And it isn't exactly that narrative, but it kind of is. I mean, the Celtics are the best team. He is probably the best player on that team. He certainly has the biggest role on that team. He is, you don't have a liability of him on the defense, so he plays both ends. He scores more points than Bam. He gets a few less rebounds. He still gets quite a few rebounds for being kind of a small forward, power forward type of guy. And he's just an elite bucket getter. And I mean, I like the Bam case. I don't think Bam's there this season. And Bam is super young. So I would not be surprised to see Bam there in a season or two. Especially like if he becomes a little bit more of an elite scorer, a little bit like you can see he's getting more comfortable with the overall game. And I like the Bam case. But I thought it was funny that you said it was very, very straightforward.
Yeah. Yeah, that was anyway.
All right, so now I'll do in the Western Conference. And I'm gonna do this based off Shai being a starter. So I'm not gonna have him as my backup because I'm gonna say he's a starter, and I think we majorly agreed on that too. So I'm gonna put, like you said, mentioned Anthony Edwards is gonna be one of them for sure. He's one of the most talented guys in the NBA, I think. Super athletic, super fun to watch. On the best team in the West, and he gets that recognition of being that number one guy on that team. And I think someone on that team has to make an all-star appearance, and I think Anthony Edwards is honestly by a pretty big margin the guy that's gonna get it if only one of them gets it. And then my backup, or the other one, is a little tough. I put Morant on there, but just because of how bad the team is doing right now and his little sample size, I'm gonna put De'Aaron Fox as the other one. He's been great this season, doing what he did last season basically. Again, the Kings are great. He's just been also kind of like a Brunson, a little underrated, I feel like. He's the fifth highest scorer per game in the league. And he's also top 10 in steals per game. And I think he has so much that he brings to the team. And like I said, he brings the Kings up a lot too, I think. So I think Edwards and Fox, considering Shai at starter with Luka, are the backup guards in the West.
I disagree with Anthony Edwards. I don't think he takes the biggest role onto his team. I think it's Mike Conley's the most effective player for the Timberwolves. I think sometimes Anthony Edwards brings his team down actually. Especially in the clutch. I just think Steph has a bigger chance of winning it over him.
Well, so I kind of Edwards. Edwards is still an all-star for me, but I don't think I think he's probably in one of my wild card spots. But I mean, like Balancing stat, I think Steph, in terms of what he does for his team, is a little bigger than Edwards. And Edwards in general has been kind of inefficient this year.
Yeah, he's been picking it up, but
lately he's on a tear. But just in general, like if it continues, obviously I think he could leap Steph. But just off,
and that's what I'm expecting.
yeah, just off right now, I think I would put Steph ahead of him. It's really close though. I absolutely agree with Fox though. I think he's the most underrated player in the league. He is so freaking good, but he never gets talked about. Um, I mean, I think he's a superstar, and I mean, we saw it in the playoffs last year. I mean, and I think the Kings in general are lacking just that one piece until they can be legit finals contenders. And he's the best player on that team.
It was unfortunate.
Yeah, they just ran into the
He had a
Warriors.
broken finger.
So for one, Fox, yes, he's one of the three guys. I said three West guards are in the top 5 points per game. He is the third one. So Fox, without doubt, Kings are playing well, no question. Anthony Edwards, I mean, Steph Curry's been insane. He's pretty much put up an MVP campaign, except for the team sucks. So there's a big diss on his All-Star campaign. But so over 11.5 3-pointers per game on a 41% clip. I mean, we know Steph Curry is the greatest shooter of all time. That has not changed this season in his age 35 year. Almost 28 points per game. His assists are down in large part because his teammates can't make shots. And so I have a lot of trouble putting Ant above Steph Curry. A lot of trouble. And I love how explosive Ant is. He's without a doubt a future All-Star. He's without a doubt probably a future All-Star starter. But this year, I mean, it's so competitive that I don't know how you put Ant above Steph Curry. For one, I don't think it'll happen. Again, just Curry is Curry. The voting is going to be insane for Curry. There's a good chance he's a starter just because of the voting. But I have trouble putting Ant over Curry. And hearing that also, guys, let's talk about Devin Booker. Like, I'm surprised Deacon didn't talk about Devin Booker. Like, I'm picking Devin Booker over Anthony Edwards. And there's more argument there just because Anthony Edwards' team is better. But Devin Booker's been insane this year. He's averaging over 8.5 assists per game. He's taking that playmaker role. He's playing efficient. He's scoring still what 28 plus points per game.
27.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Anthony Edwards is a great player. It's just Steph Curry. His stats this season are great. He has the biggest role on his team. I think Ant has like the second biggest role. I think Conley has just taken. The stats may not show for Conley, but he's taken that step.
Conley's been good this year.
Conley's been good, and I know what you're saying, but he's definitely to that team more of that vet controlled, comfortable guy. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't say he's their number one guy or anything, which kind of sounds like you're saying, because he's not. And I mean, it shows by his. I mean, he doesn't shoot that much either.
But he's the reason why they're the number one.
But I agree. I think he's like what I was saying with Derek White. I think he has a great impact on the team, but he's not that guy that people are gonna be like, oh yeah, they're good because of Conley. I think Conley is a big reason to why they are the way they are, but he's definitely not gonna be even the top 2 guy on that team, considering they have Edwards and Towns. And even Gobert. I mean, I think most people are gonna say Conley's 4th or 5th guy on their team, but I do agree. I think his impact is amazing on that team.
I mean, we saw the Wolves last year without Conley. I mean, for the first half this season, and they were not good. And we see how good they are with a full training camp, full offseason with him. He is a huge piece in that puzzle.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's
a talented vet. We've talked about this last time with the youngins. Vets are key.
Yeah. And especially with a lot of egos, like, Gobert and Towns and Ants, obviously.
Big ego.
Yeah. And I think Conley is, he is the guy that brings it all together. He's the glue guy. But in terms of like the most important player of that team, Ant still provides the scoring punch. And he's a good defender. He's not, I don't know if he's elite by any means, but yeah, but I mean, Conley's good, baby. Should we go to West backup forwards?
Sure.
That'll be me.
Let's hit it.
Art, I want to mention Anthony Davis, who we talked about a little bit with the starters. To me, he's the fourth guy or the first guy out of that starting group. Elite defender. You could argue he's the defensive player of the year. His offense has been more consistent this year. He's stayed healthy. I don't need to make an argument for Anthony Davis. I'm saying. I guess that covers. Anyway, everyone agrees. And then I got Kawhi Leonard, who has been awesome this year. He's starting to miss games recently, but before that, he didn't miss a single game, which was awesome. He's efficient. He's put in good numbers, and the Clippers are looking like possibly the best team in the West with him in the lineup and Harden. And he's been the defensive machine still. Same with Kawhi. And then my third guy, I really wanted to put Chet in here, just because I'm an OKC homer. He's been awesome, but I gotta put Sabonis in. Nice voice crack, but Sabonis, second best or maybe third best passing big in the league. Great scorer, great rebounder, improved defense. His pick and roll defense, especially this year, has been solid. Another guy that I thought about was Şengün. But I just couldn't make this case for him quite, just because his defense is so lacking.
And his offense, especially compared to Sabonis.
I just want to add on
level.
to Sabonis. He's like Mike Conley. He has a huge role.
Yeah.
But I think he does actually more. His rebounding, his points. He always finds the open guy. He does a really, really good job, and I think he gets underlooked because of De'Aaron Fox sometimes.
Yeah. And the one thing about Sabonis and Fox, like I want to give Fox his credit.
Saboner.
Yeah, because he has taken the big leap. And I think a big part of that is just the work he's put in, but also I think just the fit around Sabonis. We saw he kind of had a down year. The second year with Tyrese, he kind of didn't have the ball in his hands all the time. It was just kind of a weird fit between the two. I really like the fit. Sabonis, he's perfect pick and roll partner. It's a great screener. And like the shooting around him is excellent, and you just get to see Fox in his full glory, and he's been absolutely awesome. And I think a big part of that is Sabonis. Also just Fox being really freaking good. So
yeah, and
True.
he's like Mike Conley a lot. Big role onto his team. I think he has.
this is the big.
Everyone's Mike Conley now. Mike Conley is the GOAT comparison.
No, continue. Go ahead.
It's the second time I talked about him.
It's a lot of times for an all-star video.
But he has the biggest role on his team. But De'Aaron Fox definitely out there with him. Yeah. But he just doesn't get a lot of the credit that maybe he should be because of De'Aaron Fox. But he's been underrated for his rebounding, defense, point scoring.
Yeah.
I think we go to the West backup, or do you have the?
Unless anyone else has anyone to throw out there, but let's go to West backup.
No, I think Davis Sabonis without doubt. I think Ant's a little bit more up there for me. Oh no, Kawhi. Sorry,
Yes.
Kawhi a little more up there, but actually no, I agree with you. And heading to the West wild cards, I actually had Cat as a forward, but I decided Kawhi is better. I Kawhi as a wild card, Cat as a start, like as a forward reserve. I cut Cap, putting Kawhi. I think it makes a lot more sense. Kawhi deserving. Clippers are the fourth team right now in the West. So like either way, they're good. They are, they're fourth. So they obviously need to have some All-Star representation. Hopefully outside of wild card, and Kawhi has been insane. I think he's been shooting, also for the fun fact, over 40% three-pointer. He's been a straight robot as we know him, and defensively he's insane. But wild card, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna give you just both of mine, and then Valentine will give you. He can give you some wild cards too. One of mine is gonna be Ant. I don't think he was gonna be a straight reserve point guard because I think Curry and Fox are above. But Ant, I think the Timberwolves have been playing so good, and Ant is just, for one, he's gonna be so fun to watch in an All-Star game, guys. Like dunking on people, Ant is gonna be really fun to watch. But the other one is I think Devin Booker still, just like the way he's been playing, I think he deserves an All-Star role.
For sure.
Unfortunately, I don't think there'll be any dunking on people because they usually don't play defense at all.
Yeah.
True. That's true.
You nailed it. It's Booker and Edwards, or if you don't have Edwards or Steph, I don't know. Just whatever that combo. I don't think
I think the six
A
guards that we
forward,
mentioned
yeah.
are all.
I don't know if a forward can sneak his way into the. I think there's just
Way too many guards.
Yeah.
Mike Conley might be on there.
Yeah, maybe.
He could be. I think he might be a starter.
Yeah.
That's my guy.
All right. Let's go to East
Well,
backup guards.
East backup, the reserves, the guard reserves. I have this is gonna be interesting because we realize even with the starters, there's kind of a lot of people. I think there's about 5 or 6 guards that kind of deserve a spot, and I think the only one that's locked into the starter is Halliburton. I think everybody else is a little bit up in the air for reserve. What's going on? Fun stats. Hmm?
But no, he was just zooming in.
I was zooming in on my picks.
Yeah.
Oh, but so I have Tyrese Halliburton and Donovan Mitchell starters, so I think the reserves
Oh, you had
should
Donovan
be.
starting.
He did.
Yeah, I mean he's just been crazy. So I think my reserve will be Tyrese Maxey and Trae Young. So Trae Young, the Hawks suck. The Hawks are garbage, and there's been a lot of I'm not convinced Trae Young is the number 1 guy or superstar like that, but he is still insane at what he does. Like he's doing 28 points per game or something like that. He's averaging the second most assists in the league. And he's been great as of recently. He has his best 3-point percentage since his career. He's got a 38.5. And just because of the scoring and the assists, like what he does on the court, I think he deserves that reserve role. I don't think I take anyone over him at the moment. And maybe if they start winning, that would also help his case. And then I think Tyrese Maxey for me is a no-brainer. To be honest with y'all, none of you guys talked about it. Actually, I think Marvin did. I had Tyrese Maxey for a few days listed as my starter over Mitchell, and I thought Mitchell was more deserving. He just right now in his career is still above him. But Tyrese Maxey, I think, is a reserve without doubt, based off his scoring capacity. We know like some of those stats. Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey are, I think, all time one of the most highest scoring duos ever. And that doesn't even mention both of them are great at defense. Well, particularly Embiid, Maxey's solid at defense. He's really excelled at the role he stepped into. He's fantastic, and I think he definitely deserves to be a reserve guard.
Yeah, I obviously don't like Trey, but realistically, I also think, I mean, you don't have Brunson in there, and we have him as a starter, so that's kind of surprising. And then, like we mentioned earlier, too, Dame Lillard's still out there as well. I do think he has had an underwhelming season, especially for him. Partially probably just because he has Giannis and got a better team. But he's still Dame Lillard at the end of the day. And for the most part, he's doing very similar things that he's always done. So I think he could potentially be over there as well.
In terms of, I think Maxey's a lock for, or I think he's a lock for an All-Star game in general.
Yeah, I think so.
But he's definitely in my backups. I also had Trey. So yeah, I don't really have any arguments. But I do agree that Dame, just because he's with Giannis and his numbers are a little down, and he had a rough time adjusting. But I think now that he's fully in there, I think he's back to more normal Dame. So I think he'll start steadily climbing up the ranks and being Dame again.
I could see that. I have no issue. Yeah, honestly, to be honest with you, I think Brunson over Trae Young for reserve. I think that's honestly, I probably might change my mind to that right now. I think Brunson might be more deserving as a straight reserve than Trae Young, just because of how bad the Hawks are and how good the Knicks are, and I don't have anyone for the Knicks. But that's a toss-up. Lillard, I wouldn't mind either. I think there's a good argument for them. And spoiler, I have Lillard and Brunson as my reserves.
Okay.
Hold on, do you guys have Mitchell as one of your reserves?
Yeah.
Or as a wild card?
Yeah, he's definitely an All-Star.
Oh, he's even All-Star. I'm surprised you have him that low. I have him as a starter. He's just been crazy.
It was just tough.
Cavs are good.
I mean, I think part of it too is a little bit of Donovan hate from like the playoffs and stuff for me at least.
Yeah.
And hoping Garland can get some stuff.
Yeah,
he's definitely talented for
the narrative around him is just kind of weird right
Yeah.
now.
Is he better than Bam?
He wouldn't start over him anyways.
Well, hypothetically is better than
Talent, I would. Yeah, I mean, right now, yeah.
Really, I think Dame's better talent than
You said
Donovan. But I
Bam.
think Donovan.
You said
I think
said
Donovan is
Bam.
more deserving.
He said
Oh,
Bam.
Bam.
Can you?
That's awkward.
Yeah.
I'm definitely
All
with you.
right.
I think Dame's better.
I do too.
This guy.
Good. Well, I think we move on to the East backup forwards. If Valentine has that.
Yes, I do. So I'll just start off. I think Bam should have been a backup.
Mhm.
I think we kind of covered it.
Locked in.
What?
Yeah, he's easy. Yeah, no doubt he's not
And then I got
lower
Randle.
than.
Julius Randle, I think he's been a little underrated this season. I think
Mhm.
he's been really good actually for the Knicks.
Agreed.
With Brunson, he started off a little slow with his field goal percentage, picked it up throughout the season, and has been doing really good so far.
Really good.
He's been all-star level.
28% 3-point shooting is really good.
For him.
That's
Well, and
because
especially the way he
on
started.
five attempts per game. That is too. This
It's
is not
because
on
how he
half an
started.
He
attempt
had
per
like
game.
a historically bad start.
Yeah.
He did. But I mean, 28% is 28%. He hasn't raised that very much.
You have not been watching him play.
All right, last game, 20% 3-pointer last game. Before that, 0 for 4. Before that, 25%. Before that, 2 for 5, 0 for 2, 0 for 4, 1 for 4, 0 for 3, 1 for 3, 2 for 6,
That's
1
only
for 3.
threes,
Those are
though.
the last 8 games.
Well, he's talking about 3-point percentage.
Those
Okay,
are
so
3-pointer
averaging, what,
attempts for the last
27,
8 games or
25,
so.
26?
It's like saying Andre Drummond has a horrible 3-point percentage. I mean, like,
That is irrelevant because
but he takes a
exactly.
lot of shots. He takes most of his shots inside the paint. Is what I'm saying.
But that's exactly
Yeah,
what I
which
just
is-
said.
well,
He
it's his
takes
point.
5 attempts per game. I literally just said that. Drummond, I said he doesn't take 0.5. I wouldn't care. I would not care if he has 28%. I wouldn't care if he has 10%. I wouldn't care if he has that. But he's taking 5 attempts per game. I just told you 0 for 4, 1 for 5, 0 for 3. Like,
How much
bro, you gotta get the ball on the damn rim from out there if you're taking those shots.
Yeah, but he's averaging 23.5 points, so getting the job done.
It's not efficient at all. That's what I'm saying. Not getting the job done.
Okay.
If he can
Who's
make
your-
those, you get more wins.
Okay.
Who's your third backup?
DeMar DeRozan.
Wow.
Gotcha.
I think
I'm happy I have a wild card, kids.
a mid-range demon for sure.
For sure.
He's a fun player to watch. A lot of fans, I think, enjoy DeMar DeRozan's presence or watching him play. I think he has a big fan base or a big enough fan base to get himself into the All-Star game. I think he is skilled enough to be an All-Star. Or he is an All-Star. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think if the Bulls were a little better, I think he would get a lot more recognition. Another name I just want to throw out there, Scotty Barnes. The Raptors aren't good, but he's been
Absolutely.
awesome. Yeah. I mean, he's averaging great all-around stats. Obviously, his three-point shot's been falling this year at a higher rate than ever. He's taken a lot more as well. And his defense obviously is elite or near elite at the least. I mean, he's the best player in the Raptors at least.
Scotty Barnes has a 39% 3-pointer this season.
Yeah.
I did not know he could shoot a 3 like that.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
And that's exactly why I have Scotty Barnes over Julius Randle, guys. He's been insane. The playmaking, the rebounding, guys. He's had the last like
The defense.
6 games. He's gotten over double-digit rebounds, like half. I mean, like 14 boards. He's making all the plays. He's shooting the 3-ball insanely efficient. Yeah, the Raptors suck, so he's obviously not a starter. But we just talk about how elite Brunson is. Like that's a big part of what lifts Randle's horrible 3-point shooting because Brunson is popping. But Scotty Barnes is more All-Star deserving than Julius Randle.
Disagree, but
Since we're on Scotty Barnes, I just want to say I had him as my backup too. So since he's not a backup for us, I'm putting him as my wild card. I think he's well deserving of a All-Star spot this year. Like you said, his offense has been great all around with rebounds, points, assists. And then not to mention his defense too. He's been a great defender and he's averaging 1.5 steals and 1.5 blocks too. And that's not just numbers. Like if you watch him play, he is a good defender. He does actually earn those numbers for him. So he's just a really good all around player. And I think he deserves the backup spot on the forwards in the East.
And not to mention, we got one more, guys. We're taking Randle and DeMar over Paolo. Seriously, guys?
Dude,
Like the
that
Magic are the 5th team. Right now they have no All-Star
Business and
representation.
Business.
Randle again is not having a particularly amazing year for him. He's not. He's playing. I'm actually a Randle fan. Doesn't sound like it. But Paolo Banchero is, I mean, they're the 5th seed right now in the East. They've been losing a lot of games recently, and they're still the 5th seed in the East. He's the best player on the team. I mean, we talked about this recently. Like, he's definitely more deserving than DeMar DeRozan because he's not good. I think he's more deserving than Julius Randle. He's more efficient from everywhere. He's a better playmaker than Julius Randle. He's a more efficient scorer, better defender. What does he not do better than Julius Randle? And he's also the best guy on his team that is a better team than the Knicks. Like, that's kind of a no-brainer.
My wild cards. Oh, sorry. I don't know what order you put them in, but it's got to be one of Dame, or in my case, I had Dame and Mitchell in there. But
It's got to be 2 guards. Is
Yeah,
really the bottom line.
you can mix up any of the guards really. I don't care. I mean, I think they're all deserving of whatever spot they get, but I think they all got to be there. But in my case, it was Dame and Mitchell.
Yeah. I actually want to go back. This is completely reversing back to the West. I think an X factor wild card we want to keep an eye out for is Ja Morant. Ja Morant right now is leading his team to why he's a talent wise he's up there for potential starter talent wise, right? He won't be just because the West is insane right now. But he can make it in there. He can potentially boot at Devin Booker or Anthony or Ant just because, right? If they're winning, if they continue to win at the level they're winning at the next few games, and they're quickly ranking up, moving into the play-in, right? We all had we all projected them to be very good in our preseason rankings, and if Ja Morant starts leading into that, we know the stats are great. We know he's an amazing player. He can certainly make a case potentially as a wild card.
Yeah, but as of right now, he's played what, 5 games? It's
As of right now, yeah, as of right now, I can't put him in there. But
Yeah.
you've got to keep your eye out
Well,
for him,
that's
and I
why
think
I
he's
mean I
certainly.
mentioned him as when I was talking about my guards. I was saying I think Morant could be there, but right now he doesn't have the big enough sample size.
I don't think he will
Yeah.
by the time that All-Star comes around.
I think he could come around to a wild card.
I mean, it's in a month. I just don't think that's enough games. I
I
mean,
I did the math. There is like I think there's like 15 games or so until All-Star.
Well, yeah. So what is that, like 20 games played?
I mean, that's pretty much as many as all the guys right now have.
Yeah, then they'll have like.
I just think if especially depends on how good he's playing and how good if the team is winning. If they're literally losing in that time 4 games, 3 games, you have to, right? They're probably gonna lose more, and then you quickly take them out of the conversation. But if they're winning, they've been winning at a really high clip, and especially how bad they were. You've got to give Ja Morant an insane amount of credit for that and really consider him for that spot.
Another thing, we had no Pelicans in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's because
Yeah.
he's just been too good all around. Because Zion, he's had his downfalls. Ingram, I think Ingram would be more deserving than Zion right now. But
I
even
have
if he's,
Ingram
don't
on my
think
list
it's
of
quite
guys
good
that are
enough.
just out.
Especially with the forwards we have on here right now.
I thought about Zion, and he just doesn't put up the stats
Yeah.
as an All-Star.
I almost gave it to Ingram my last forward reserve spot, but Leonard's more deserving. Sabonis is more deserving.
Guys,
Obviously,
no
Davis.
Piston players.
Yeah, I think Kate should be in there for Lillard. Come on.
Killian.
Sasson?
No.
Sass me up, daddy.
All right.
Sass me up, daddy. Oh man. I mean, I think bottom line is the only thing that's really certain is that Mike Conley is definitely going to be starting in a month from now in that All-Star game.
Do y'all think there's a chance Victor could make it just because how big his name is?
I don't think
Well,
so.
maybe if he gets voted in by the fans.
He's not going to be voted in. He has to be a starter to get voted in.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not.
I think Chet has a better chance than Victor,
I think so.
just because the team is so good.
The team is better. He's been healthier.
Yeah,
And been
and
shooting better.
yeah.
I agree. I do think. Well,
I think Wemby.
I don't think it's Victor's fault per se, just
No.
because the team is.
so bad.
Yeah, I don't know what.
Yeah, he can't be just because of that. If the Spurs are like a playing team next season and Wemby takes another like a little bit of a leap, like especially scoring wise, I think he'll be an all-star.
If that Spurs team is a play-in team next year, he should be a starter.
Yeah, probably.
And we're not good.
Unless they make some crazy moves.
Oh
and
yeah.
Who knows what? But yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, get
Bring-
him back.
Bring Bryn Ford
I
back.
just saw him at the hotel the other day, man. I mean, I was trying to recruit him. It didn't work very well.
Good friend.
Good friend.
Friend of the pod.
Obviously, we'll have him on. We'll have him on.
Soon to be.
Well, I think that wraps it up. Unless we got any last thoughts.
Not for me.
No, I like.
Let's get it. Let's get. Comment who you think should be All-Star starters, All-Stars. Is Mike Conley an All-Star? Is he not? That is the big debate.
Is Julius
But
Randle an All-Star?
yeah, it's Julius Randle or Paolo or Scotty.
Lamar.
It's definitely an interesting conversation. But leave your comments, drop a subscribe for more videos like this, more content, and Floater Gang out.
We go for All-Star.